This is the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch Professional. It was not only the first watch on the moon, it is also one of the most popular watches from Omega. Today we're going to take a closer look on this watch and I will let you know what 3 things you should be aware of before buying it, so let's get started. Before we head into this video, I want to give a quick shout out to Kat and Katlen from the TennandTwo podcast. They have a weekly podcast where they talk about watches, photography, and exploring the world of horology. And I am super excited to have been invited onto that podcast. And you can check out the episode when it comes out on the 10th of March. So make sure to follow these amazing 2 ladies on Instagram to make sure to not miss out on any new episodes. And one more thing, many of you have asked me about the watch roll from my giveaway, where I got it from and where to buy it. So I've got some great news for you. Those type of watch rolls and many other sizes and variations are going to be restocked in our online shop soon. So to not miss out on the launch of the new watch rolls, I recommend subscribing to our email reminder list, and I will put the link for you down in the description box below. Do you remember the first time you made the decision to buy your first serious watch? Maybe after graduating uni, getting the promotion you've always wanted, or another special event in your life. And now you're at the point where you want to celebrate it with something special to commemorate that point in your life. You might start Googling watches, or maybe you have been into watches for quite some time now. But no matter what your starting off point is, a lot of your searches end in one result: the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch Professional. So you click on pictures, you like what you see, and then a couple of days later you find yourself at an AD. But then there is one question that completely throws you off as soon as you ask for your Speedmaster and the salesperson comes back to you and shows you 2 watches. 2 watches that do look exactly the same, but on closer inspection, there is a difference. The difference here is as simple as it is crucial for not only how you're going to wear it later on, but also in terms of its price. You can get the Speedy with 2 different types of crystals and casebacks. The first version is the Speedmaster with a Hesalite crystal. Hesalite is basically a form of plastic like plexi or acrylic, and watch glasses based on that plastic have been produced since the late 1920s. The Hesalite on the Speedy makes the crystal appear more clear looking, especially on the edges. It is also closer to the original Moonwatch because the actual Speedy that took a trip to the moon also had a Hesalite crystal on top of it. The caseback on this version is a steel caseback, remembering the many space missions by the engraving and the iconic Speedmaster seahorse in the middle. When going for this version, you are choosing a Speedmaster that is historically more accurate, with a very cool looking caseback, but also a watch with a crystal that is more prone to show scratches. The other version of the Speedy is the so-called Sapphire Sandwich, with a sapphire crystal on top as well as a sapphire caseback. The sapphire gives the Speedy a bit of a different look, making the edges on the crystal look dull under a certain light. Thanks to the sapphire caseback, you get to see the caliber 1861 in all its glory. Sapphire crystals are not as easily scratchable as Hesalite, but the material is not as flexible, so when that one breaks, it shatters. It is also historically not as accurate, which bums a lot of people out, but you're being compensated for that by the unobstructed look on the stunning movement. So in terms of price, the Hesalite version will set you back 4,600 euros, while the Sapphire version costs 5,400 euros. Out of all the watches that were being tested by NASA, it was only the Speedmaster that passed all of them to become the first watch on the moon. So it does not come as a surprise that Omega has relied on that story to build up their marketing for years. I mean, I definitely do the same. The Speedmaster proved its robustness and reliability in space time and time again, and it even saved the lives of the Apollo 13 crew on their mission. Because thanks to this 42mm chronograph, the 3 astronauts Lovell, Swigert and Hayes were able to return to Earth alive, as most systems on board failed after an oxygen tank exploded, causing them to bear away from their course. It all came to the point where they had to use the Speedmaster Swigert was wearing to time the burn of the rockets to get them back onto their course. If that maneuver hadn't worked, they would have either entered the Earth's atmosphere in a way too high of an angle and then just burned up, or entered too flat, causing them to pretty much just bump off the Earth's atmosphere, never to be able to return again. I would go as far and say that most people today are not full-time astronauts, and the requirements most Speedy wearers have are different now. Especially for those who want to enjoy their watch and wear it every day, the watch needs to be suitable for everyday use. So even though it has an amazing story to tell, there are some hidden chapters in terms of its suitability for everyday use you should be aware of. Contrary to what the seahorse on the caseback might make you think, the Speedmaster does not do well in water. Given its water resistance of 5 bar, washing your hands should be the only activity that includes water while wearing your Speedy. Secondly, when going for the steel bracelet version, you might find yourself using a tool more often than you would like. As there is no quick adjustment or any other adjustment on the bracelet whatsoever, you might find yourself feeling like your watch fits either too tight or too loose, depending on the temperature. Nothing too dramatic, as the Speedy is a real strap monster and you also get a NATO strap when buying it, but definitely something you should keep in mind when you are a fan of steel bracelets. And the most important thing of all, especially for a daily beater and all of you desk divers out there, is the fact that unfortunately this watch is a real scratch magnet. The Speedy loses very quickly its brand new look, especially on those brushed parts of the bracelet and the polished flanks on the case. I know signs of wear are unavoidable and it's not the end of the world, but it was definitely surprising and something you should keep in mind so you're not as disappointed as I was. How often do you look at your watch to check the time? Okay, but how many times do you forget what time it is as soon as you look up again? Long gone are the days when we actually needed a watch to tell the time. Nowadays, a watch has become so much more. Many appreciate it for its mechanical finesse in a fast-paced time full of short-lived trends. Others may want to remind themselves of certain milestones in their lives by looking down on their wrists, or maybe it's an accessory to you like a tie, a ring, or your favorite pairs of shoes. As I've mentioned before, the Sapphire version comes with a sapphire caseback, through which you can see the caliber 1861 ticking away. While you can get watches with a see-through caseback for less than €1,000, it's the beautiful finishing on this Speedmaster movement that always keeps me staring at it for a little while longer than I intended. I mean, don't get me wrong. The finissage on this Speedy does not come near to the level of a Patek or a A. Lange & Söhne movement, but those watches are at least 10 or 50 times the price. But I think that in the price range of below 10,000, this is, among a few others, one of the most beautiful movements out there. And that's exactly where we also get an issue many do not think about. This movement is missing a component that would make looking at it much harder, and that is a rotor. On a mechanical watch, a rotor is used to wind the watch through the movement of your arm whilst wearing the watch, making it automatic and, in theory, could run forever that way. But what about the Speedmaster? Well, it does not matter if you keep it on day in and day out. After 48 hours, it's over. Because the most popular Speedmaster does not have what most luxury watches in this price segment have. It is not an automatic, but a manual wind caliber. That is why you have to manually wind the watch almost every day, given that you care enough about your watch to display the correct time all the time without randomly just stopping. But this is also where the biggest issue lies with the Speedmaster that could actually keep you from buying it. The crown you need to wind it with sits so tightly in between the crown guards that the Speedy makes it really hard for you to enjoy winding it at least every 2 days. The bezel with the tachymeter scale slightly protrudes so that the space where you can grab the crown gets really small, and I've had watches where winding them was way much more enjoyable. So because of that, I would definitely recommend going to your AT and testing it out for yourself so you can get a feeling for it. Okay, so now that you know about these 3 things, you might ask yourself whether or not the Speedy is really as good as everyone says it is. So let me add a few more thoughts on here. There's a good reason as to why the design of the Speedy stayed pretty much unchanged since its release in 1957. It's an absolutely iconic and timeless design, and even though it has its little drawbacks, which any watch has, it has remained successful for over 60 years. All 3 aspects I have mentioned today are just what I believe are the most important things you should be aware of before considering to buy the Speedy, to make sure you do not end up with buyer's remorse, because they can be easily overlooked. So there's only one more question left. What do you think about the Speedmaster, and which variation do you like best? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.